Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Flagrant Talk Sports Podcast. It's me, Isaiah, here with my favorite co-host, Mr. Moses Famino.
Welcome back, everybody.
And today, we're on stage 3 of our rankings at the small forward position. If you haven't seen our point guard rankings or shooting guard rankings, they're already on the channel. You can check them out today. Quick preface for this video. 1, Mo and I don't know each other's list. 2, this is based off of last season. So we're not judging these players all time. We're judging off of last season. And 3, the big one, you needed to play at least 41 games to be on this list. Half the season in one way or another. If you played that, you qualified. With that being said, for me at least, and I'm sure Mo feels the same, the lack of games that some of these guys played is the difference maker for some of them. A player who played 50 games versus a player who played 75, I'm going to give the edge to the 75, even if the player who played 50 games is a little bit better. So those are just the qualifications. And the big one for this, a lot of the guys we associate all time as small forwards, they play power forward now. LeBron, he's a power forward. Durant, he's a power forward. Kawhi, power forward. They're not on this list. So this list is kind of more interesting for Mo and I because it's pretty bare compared to what we're going to have to do going through the power forwards. So
100%. That video is going to be
dude,
quite the treat.
It's going to be ridiculous. My friend Moses is losing his voice a little bit, but he's fighting through. That's his dedication to the pod.
Ashton Genty earns the ultimate respect and effort when you're just witnessing greatness. So the voice is a little gone, recovering, but the show must go on. I apologize in advance, but we're here.
Yeah, but we're, as Mo said, we're here. Shout out Ashton Genty and the 21 ranked Boise State Broncos. Let's get rolling, baby. At the honorable mention spot, we always start off with this. This is people who did not qualify / just didn't make the list. Off rip, the one guy who is not on this tier maker that I at least wanted to include, and I'm sure Mo at least wanted to say his name more than anything, is Lou Dort of the Oklahoma City Thunder. 10.9 points, 3.6 boards, 1.4 assists, but his stats don't tell the tale. He is an all NBA level defender, very active, can be on an opposing team's best guy. And going into this upcoming season with Caruso, my God.
Sky's the limit for that defense.
Literally. So Lou Dort, honorable mention, not on the tier maker, but at least a name we wanted to talk about. Now, we could go to some names and faces who are on the tier maker. Again, Mo and I don't know each other's lists, so I'm just going to throw some names out there, and you let me know if they made your list. We've got Chris Middleton.
He's an honorable for me.
Me as well.
15.1 points, 4.7 boards, 5.3 assists, 0.9, call it a steal a game. Chris battled through a little bit of injury this season, only playing 55 games, but he was huge for the Bucks in the playoffs with their two biggest stars out. He was their best player, hitting huge shots for them in that Pacers series. Just outside of my top 10, but still an amazing player. We have seen it over the last few years. Just an amazing scorer, really solid on the defensive end as well, and has just been an amazing piece to this Bucks team and will continue to be. So,
Yeah, I have him as an honorable mention as well. Only played 55 games, was banged up, kind of a tell for last season with the Bucks, banged up very heavily in the postseason. But as you said, Middleton was getting buckets. He was
Mhm.
keeping the Bucks alive when Giannis was out, when Dame was banged up. He really was the like Superman of the Bucks.
Yeah,
So in his mid 30s, I believe Middleton is 35 years old now, at the tail end of his career. Still a dependable forward, just not quite at that top end level where he normally would be on this list. Um, but just misses it. A bit of regression, injury, getting older, all of those things. Still deserves an honorable though,
100%.
from us. The next one. This was a tough one to leave off, but one that as I was making the list, I just couldn't quite justify. I have Michael Porter Jr.
He is on my list.
Okay. Then the next name I have, Jaden McDaniels.
He is also on my list.
Okay. Um, I think. Okay, then we can get into list time. Because
I have one. He's
yeah.
gonna be on your list now,
Hmm.
but it's really tough because his stats and his play, it reminds me of Kristaps Porzingis, what he brings to the table. But with where his team was at, that was part of my corporation. I have Laurie
Hmm.
Markkinen in my honorable mentions.
Whoa! Wow.
Um, I know it's pretty
Wow.
crazy because he's a near double double threat. And like I said, he reminds me of KP with his stretchability, not the same defender, I would say, but it's averaging near a steal a game. 55 games played as well, kind of hurt him for my list, but just a really tough one that I had to leave out.
Wow. Okay. I will reserve my thoughts for Lori. He is on my list. But we could get started with the 10 slot.
Mhm.
Um, I'll try and save your voice here a little bit.
Thank you.
I've got RJ Barrett at my 10 spot. A bit of an odd season, um, because he was traded. Started off the year with the Knicks, but when he really after the first 3 or so games in Toronto, he looked so good with the Raptors. And I think going into this next year, there's a good chance he's higher than 10. Um, 20.2 points, 5.4 rebounds, 3.3 assists, and has been a guy who has just continued to kind of develop. Obviously, being in that class with Zion, those comparisons were there. And I think that while RJ might not have come out as this immediate star, he's slowly budding into this 20-point per game guy, this guy who can be a core piece of a franchise that is contending. And given, being traded by the Knicks and really helping this Raptors team, I think him and Scotty Barnes, who we'll talk about in the power forwards video, make a really fun tandem. Not one that I think can necessarily compete for a title, but is at least good enough to be a play-in caliber team. And I really like what RJ did this previous season. I feel like it kind of went under the radar. As a 20-point per game scorer. So I felt like he was deserving of that 10 spot on this list, even though he didn't, you know, play the playoff basketball that some of these other guys played and was kind of hampered by only having 58 games this year.
So, I slightly messed up, but RJ Barrett is an honorable mention for me, actually.
Yeah.
He just missed out on my list. As you said, stats are there. He's an amazing scorer. Um, the trade definitely threw him under my radar a little bit, probably unfairly so, but missing out on that playoff basketball definitely hurt him
Hmm.
in my rankings and the games played as well. But as you said, all around two-way unbelievable player. and
Mhm.
it's going to be a really exciting season to see him full
Yeah.
82 games with Toronto. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's just a pretty consistently good guy who is continuing to develop his game, and I
mhm.
think long term could be one of those core pieces in Toronto. So,
Yep.
I've got Star J at 10. Who is your 10 on this list?
My number 10 on this list is Jaden McDaniels. Um, 10.5 points per game, 3.1 boards, 1.4 assists, zero point 0.9 steals. An absolute defensive menace, as we've come to find out over the regular season, especially in the playoffs. Um, as you can tell by the stats, the offense isn't there all the time, but he can knock them down in the corner. He's a good 3-point shooter. His percentages were down a little bit this season compared to 2 seasons ago, but
Mhm.
he's going to need to be a guy for the Timberwolves to knock down shots with Karl Anthony Towns heading out. They're losing a little bit of stretch there. Julius
Mhm.
Randle obviously can hit threes. I would prefer Cat at the 3-point line, but
Yeah.
gonna need McDaniels to step up. But his defense and his play, 72 games played. I just think he earned a top 10 nod in my eyes.
So, straight up, this was my number 11. I
Mm-hmm.
love Jaden McDaniels. We both talk about him on this channel a lot. Just a tremendous player. The only thing that kind of held him back from Barrett, McDaniels is a way better defender.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But offensively, I'm kind of waiting for that next step because I think he has the tools. He has the length and size and athleticism, and he's able to get to the cup and score well. And as you said, the corners for him from the 3-point line is where he really thrives and being able to knock those down consistently. And that's great. But if he can even go to a 14 point per game score, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need this like 18 or anything like that. I don't think that is his role, especially because of what he brings defensively. But if he can up that scoring just a little bit more, get into that offensive pie a little more, and I think without a cat, he's going to have more opportunities to do that. I love Jaden McDaniels. I just barely gave the pass to Star J.
Mm-hmm.
But this was the closest one for me.
For sure.
Um,
Quick,
with that being
quick,
s Oh, go
quick
ahead.
edit. We just got a little number change.
Excuse that. I don't know how to count 2 vids in a row. I think I'm I think I'm really cooking here, guys, as you could tell, a little late night vid, so
Yep.
I don't know how to count, but he trusts
Mm-hmm.
my NBA opinions apparently. With with that being said, we'll go straight in to the 9 spot. Mo, get us started. Who do you have?
At 9, I have Michael Porter Jr. 16.7 points per game, 7 boards, 1.5 assists. Um, could be better on the defensive end, but obviously offensively is where he shines. And with his supporting cast, he can kind of take it off. He's got Aaron Gordon, he's got Jokic, he's got Murray, he's got KCP, not anymore, but last season, just work.
Mhm.
Did KCP leave? That could be a lie. I don't know if
Yeah.
I messed that up, but that
Yeah.
team obviously very solid defensively. Played the most games of his career, 81 games, which
Mhm.
is huge for me. Finally, no back issues holding him back, which was awesome to see. Solid for the Nuggets in the playoffs as well. Slightly down percentages wise from three and from the field, but that is obviously going to come with him playing the most games of his career. Um,
Mhm.
I love Michael Porter Jr. And shooting pretty good percentages at the amount of shots he takes per game. So I
Yeah.
had to give him the nod.
Yeah, I had Michael Porter Jr. as an honorable mention. Very good player, a key player of that Nuggets team that won a title. And without KCP, he's going to be even more important as a leader on that team. The reason I left him off and him playing 81 games is amazing. That is a massive uh add to him when we're talking about players. Your best ability is availability, and him being there and being in the playoffs is great. The only problem, his playoff performance this year was not great, particularly against Minnesota. It was really bad. And I think for me, he just has this tendency from time to time, while being a very good player, to sometimes fade out of the team, like just kind of disappear on the court. And it leads to him needing to get pulled for someone who is more defensive focused, or being like, hey, we need a knockdown shooter. Your shot is not falling. And you need someone like him who is willing to put up those shots and
Mhm.
shoot at that volume. That is an important thing to have on your team. But I feel like there's a lot of times where that slowly fades out. And I think
Mhm.
for me, when you're picking straws on these, 9 to honorable mentions, that's kind of what just came into to impacting him not making my list.
Mhm.
But a great player, absolutely. So got that for 9. My 9 is a guy who would definitely be higher, but only played 50 games, and it sort of hampered him a little bit. I have OG Anunoby of the New York Knicks, another one of my just basketball crushes. Wins. He is just a winning basketball player. He will do whatever you need to go out there and get the job done. 14.7 points, 4.2 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.4 blocks, and nearly, or 1.4 steals, excuse me,
Yep.
and nearly a block per game. A great player, truly one of those gadget guys who can go everywhere, and we saw the impact he made on New York instantly. The
Mhm.
moment he was traded there, they just won and won and won and won, and obviously, the Knicks had a really good team with him coming in,
Yeah.
but it speaks to him as a player. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter who's on the court, it doesn't matter who they're going against, he will be there, he will show up, and he'll contribute, and I think for me, when I'm looking at this Knicks team and what they can be this upcoming season, OG is one of those very key names. So, hoping if he stays healthy this year, if he can play 65 games, 67 games, he's going to go up on this list by default because I know what he's going to do on the court anytime he's out there. So, got OG at 9.
100%. I love OG as well, and we can roll in number 8 because that is where I have him slotted.
Beautiful.
Um, just as you said, instant impact on the Knicks once the trade happened. There's a reason they signed him to a gargantuan extension
Mhm.
this offseason because it was earned. Just W's for New York as
Mhm.
soon as he entered. A little something I noticed. I just maybe forgot this, but 2 years ago he led the league in steals with 1.9 steals. So we know what he can bring on the
Mhm.
defensive end. He's been showing that all throughout his young career, and I just am excited to see a full
Mhm.
season with the Knicks. And as you said, the potential to rise on this list is very, very high. So,
Yeah. And going back to RJ Barrett, the fact that we didn't see a full season of OG with the Knicks and now we're going to is
mhm,
also going to lend itself very well. So I see no reason why OG, when we do this list next year, couldn't be top 5. I think
100%.
that is his upside as a
Yeah.
basketball player.
Yep.
Um, as for my number 8, I have a guy who, as a former All-Star and player, has kind of become a little bit neglected,
Mhm.
and it's Brandon Ingram of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yep.
Played in 64 games, 20.8 points, 5.1 boards, 5.7 assists per game, and I think it's tough with Ingram. He's been dealt this kind of tough card because you have Ingram who had that Team USA experience a year and a half ago, or it was the previous summer.
Mhm.
went in and we thought was going to be one of those guys that was then going to use that as a springboard to make this year's Olympic team. And it was a disaster. He ended up getting benched. He wasn't getting run. And it kind of just spiraled onto, I feel like, people really bagging on him. And then the trade rumor mill was this constant thing. And I feel like him getting traded was talked about more than his on court performance.
Mhm.
Um, with that being said, Brandon Ingram is just a quality player. He is a fringe all-star wing. He's lengthy. He's able to play make pretty well, which I feel like is an underrated part of his game. Coming
Yep.
in as a 20-point per game scorer, he's able to give you that while playing with a Zion Williamson when Zion is healthy and out there as well.
Mhm.
Having those pieces, the Pelicans are a very deep team. They're a team with a lot of pieces all over the board that can do a lot of things. And Brandon Ingram has kind of sailed, carefully through that. I know a lot of people want to give him crap for his play-in performance
Yeah.
and his playoff performance. He was hurt,
Mhm.
and it was obvious. We'll talk about it with the power forwards with Kawhi. I throw it out the window. He was hurt. He was trying to be there for his team. He
Yep.
couldn't contribute. He gave it his all. And I
For
think for
sure.
me, if I'm a Pelicans fan, that speaks to his character. He wanted to be out there for his team, just
Mhm.
couldn't piece it together. I honestly hope he gets traded. I think there is potential on another team to kind of remind people of what he can be as an all-star, but given, some missed games and I think some of the talent ahead of him on this list, I've got BI at 8.
Well, we can just roll into number 7 because I
Come
have
on,
BI
man.
at 7. Um, as you said, that was one of my biggest notes was everyone was going to point out the playoff
Mhm.
blunders and the percentages and say this guy is not a great player. But as we've seen throughout his career, he is an amazing scorer. His length makes him a solid defender. He just kind of fits into any role, I feel like, on any basketball team. He can kind of do it all. As you said, the playmaking's improved.
Mhm.
It's been this unfair narrative for whatever reason. But Brandon Ingram is an amazing player. And I also 100% agree that a trade would maybe
Benefit.
new horizons would
Yeah.
brighten the rest of his future. But
Yeah.
got him at 7.
Mhm. I totally agree with you.
Mhm.
The guy I've got at 7 is the guy I was most surprised by not being included, but I've got Lauri Markkanen. It's a guy who only played 55 games,
Mhm.
and I think that being, an important thing for your criteria as well as playing on a bad team. I mean, those 2 things I understand, but I think when he's out there, he's an all-star. He is
Yeah.
a tremendous player, 23.2 points, 8.2 boards, 2 assists per game, nearly a steal per game. The Jazz run this really big lineup, and we'll see what they do this year. Laurie will be on the team. He can't be
Mhm.
traded this season, so
Yep.
he's sticking it out. When Laurie is healthy, he is to me 5 or 6 on this list.
Yep.
But we need to see that. I think he is also the oldest. I'm forgetting the stat. He's either the oldest all-star to not make a playoff team yet in
Wow.
the NBA or the oldest player in the league who has not made a playoff appearance yet. So
Mhm.
that is a daunting thing. Listen, he played in Chicago. They weren't good. He
Yep.
wasn't his best. Gets traded to Utah. He has totally unlocked himself as a player. Is the star of the Jazz at the
Yeah.
moment. While Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks and some of those other guys come into their own.
Mhm.
Um, but I just love Lauri Markkinen. I just would like to see him on the court a little bit more. Obviously, he would as well.
Yep.
And I hope the Jazz can build something. And if he's a part of that, more power to him. I would like
Mhm.
to see him play some meaningful basketball because of his upside.
100%. you know, potentially slightly disrespecting him with an honorable mention, but as you noted, I still think he's an amazing player and the 100% star of the Utah Jazz. So,
Yeah. Yeah, they need him to hoop, man. If they're
hmm
going to hit and break through and at least make a play in, at least like give some fans some things to cheer about. Laurie is one of those pieces they're gonna need out there
yep,
all season. So
yep.
got Laurie at 7. At 6, Mo, who do you have?
At 6 is
Mm,
where I'm going to slot Jimmy Butler in to this list.
wow. Okay.
This might be a little bit lower than people were expecting, but 60 games played, no playoff Jimmy, which is a lot of what people highlight. They call him two different players, regular season and playoffs, which there's signs that that could be true or not true, but still 20.8 points per game, 5.3 boards,
Mhm,
5 assists, and 1.3 steals. Just the two-way stud, kind of the engine of this Miami Heat team, and he's going to need to come back healthy and not needs to be the best player if they want a shot
mhm.
to stay afloat in this super competitive now Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I will talk about Jimmy in a little bit. I think having him here is totally fine. But I'll
Mhm,
I'll talk about him here in a little bit. At my 6th spot, I've got an Iron Man, a guy who plays every single game. You want to talk about availability being your best ability. It's McCall Bridges of
mhm,
the New York Knicks now, but judging off of his Brooklyn Nets season, um, 19.6 points, 4.5 boards, 3.6 dimes, a steal per game. And it was a interesting time for Bridges because
mhm,
he got the keys to the kingdom, being a part of that Durant trade that landed him in Phoenix, and it didn't quite pan out the way that Bridges thought it could go or that basketball fans would have liked to see with him as a number one option. But I don't take that as an indictment on him as a player at all. I actually think him being in New York now is going to greatly, greatly benefit from his
mhm,
experience with the Suns, being one of the guys, going to the finals, being a key factor, missing out, losing, then getting dealt to Brooklyn and being the guy. Teams are game planning for McCall Bridges every single night. They
mhm.
they they wanted him. He's the number one option. He's going to be the 20 point per game guy. We want to shut him down. And it just didn't quite work out. He wasn't on the best team, so that also wasn't helping him any. And I think it's really tough to be a 1A. It's very hard. Very, very few players in the league can do it. And it's not a bad thing that Bridges can't be because I think the experience now is going to lend itself to New York and
Mhm,
he's going to hoop. He's going to be in that system perfectly because of everything he does. He's a great defender. He can knock the three ball down. I'd like to see it improve a little bit, but has it in his game. He is just a quality player. And
Yep.
him playing every single game and continuing to do it year in, year out, be there and show up for his team. I love Bridges and everything that he brings to a team that he's on.
You know, our chemistry today hasn't been fully clicking, but it has been linking because I
Mm,
have McCall Bridges at 5.
beautiful.
As you said, the 82 games played is just unbelievable. He has been an Iron Man throughout his career. The stats are there
Mhm,
unbelievably sound on both sides of the ball, and this opportunity with New York to be back on a competitive team looking for a title with
mhm.
all his past experience. As you said, it's really exciting. It's nerve-wracking as a Celtics fan, but I love it. I'm the competition right now in the NBA, it is unbelievable. So
It's
many
awesome.
good teams, so many good
Mhm.
players. Makes these lists that much harder, but got McCall Bridges at the 5 spot on mine.
Love it. Love it. And I think it speaks to your list. Keeping it consistent on those games played really matter. And you being out there for every single game is awesome. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't. And it speaks to his work ethic, obviously luck with his health and everything like that, but him as a player, man, he shows up for his team every single night. Um as for me, my 5 spot, I have Orlando Magic wing Franz Wagner. Uh Honestly, one of those guys when they got their big payday, we talked about it on the channel. I feel like Franz is a really good litmus test for basketball knowledge. He's a great guy where if someone says, "Oh, he's overrated. Oh, he's overpaid," I feel like I can kind of end the conversation with you there.
Mhm.
Nearly 20 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.1 steals per game. Only shot 28% from deep. Biggest thing that needs to be worked on. It's just got to be. And the Magic added to that with KCP. This was a Magic team that did not have shooters. It was lacking in the biggest way, and it's honestly what led to them being bounced in the playoffs as early as they did. But Franz Wagner, to me, is a budding star and a great 1B to what Orlando has with Paulo.
Mhm.
Just does everything well, very athletic. We saw that as well in the Olympics this summer.
Yeah.
He was he was a man possessed, and it was really cool seeing a guy in Franz when he gets to be the 1A. When
Yeah.
the team gets to run through him, he just dominates. He feeds off of it. And I think going forward, really could have that top 3 upside. I really like Franz and what he brings to Orlando.
Speaking about top 3 upside, I have Franz right outside of it at number 4.
Dude.
It's getting a little ridiculous right now, but, uh unbelievable stepping season for Franz. Grew a lot in a lot of aspects of the game. He was slightly not sli- he was worse 3-point percentage wise compared to
Mhm.
seasons prior, but we know he has it in his game and we know that can come back. As you said with Germany, it was a treat to watch him just be that guy
Mhm.
who carry the team, have them rely on him for a majority of the offense, and
Yeah.
he carried the load well. His size and skill and speed combination as well makes him a great defensive player.
Mhm.
Nothing easy there. I love Franz all around, and it's only up from here. So,
Yeah. And 72 games played as
yep.
well. That also is a big thing.
Hmm.
Going to my 4 spot is the guy you have at 6, and it's Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. Now, he's one of the most important players to specify on this list because when he's healthy and when he's playing his top level of basketball, you could argue he's one. And I think honestly I would probably have him there.
Yeah.
But your best ability is availability, and Pat Riley called it out. And honestly, I think it's why the Heat culture is the way that it is. It's
Hmm.
why the team has continued really over the past 25 years to be pretty consistently solid.
Yeah.
And it's Pat Riley saying, "Hey, no social media BS, no chirping at the Celtics, no none of that. You are not playing. You need to take the regular season more serious, and you can't be playoff Jimmy and not be on the court.
Yep.
That can't happen. You
Hmm.
cannot talk crap to a team and then have your teammates have to be the ones to go out there and defend it.
Hmm.
Um, as a player, though, we know what he is. He, as I said, number one on the list.
Yep.
20.8 points, 5.3 boards, 5 assists per game. Only played 60 games, which is a solid number. But the biggest one for me is playoffs with him
Yep.
because of, like you said, playoff Jimmy being this elevated. He turned Super Saiyan in the postseason, and
Yeah.
when you don't see that, and this is him cruising through the regular season, and he's still top 5 in my opinion, this is what he gets. He's at
Mhm.
4, and there's a guy or 2 above him who normally would not be, but they're on the court, they're producing for their team, and had a better overall season, and I think for me, that's what prevents Jimmy from being that 1, which
Yeah,
this time next year, he totally could be.
for sure. It was
So
just super super hard to rank him based off
mhm,
of all the what was going on last
yeah,
season, so, yeah.
and he just was coasting. He was
Yep,
coasting
yep,
because it's like, "Oh, well, when the
which
playoffs come."
is crazy to say as he's putting up 25 and 5 with a
Yeah,
steal.
yeah,
Like, it's
like,
pretty yeah.
he's just able to step in and be a good player.
Yep.
He's but yeah, if Miami is going to wanna stay in the mix in that Eastern Conference where I think the Knicks are better, the Celtics are still the Celtics, I think the Sixers are much, much better.
Mhm.
Milwaukee, I think, will be better this year. Like, Jimmy, if he can play to that top level and keep the Heat competitive and in the mix, I see no reason why he's not one.
Yep.
So, just had to handicap him on the list a little bit due to games played.
Mhm.
At number 3, we have Kendrick Lamar's favorite for me. DeMar, I say
Same
it,
here. Same
the
here.
less I like it.
Yep.
We've got DeMar DeRozan
Yep.
of the Chicago Bulls, but now the Sacramento Kings.
So exciting.
Dude, I can't wait. I'm really excited for this Kings team.
Mhm.
Because, dude, the lineups of Fox, Monk, DeMar, you get Sabonis, you get, oh my goodness, I'm
Dude,
excited.
it's crazy because it seems like we're talking about every team upgraded, which is like,
Dude.
how is that possible? Like, you
Yeah.
think the better players are going elsewhere, like, every team kinda got what they needed this
Yes.
offseason, which was huge.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And
Mhm.
I've got DeMar here at 24 points per game,
Yep.
and 4.3 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1.1 steals per game.
Mhm.
Uh, just I think it's tough because he did play for the Bulls.
Yep.
And so you see that 24 and you're like, holy crap. It was Chicago.
Yep.
So that number is going to go down this season. I would assume. If not, then he's gonna remain this high when we do this next year.
Yep.
Um, but played in 79 games,
Mhm.
just there for Chicago, kept them afloat even when you have all of these injuries. There's no Lonzo Ball there. The experiment with Vooch hasn't panned out. You have Kobe White emerging. All of these kind of things going on in Chicago, and DeMar was just there.
Yeah.
Smooth sailing, a great player, and I'm so excited to see him have the opportunity to play some winning basketball. Um,
100%.
yeah.
Also at 30 sorry, I just lost it. I wanna make sure this is correct.
Mhm.
34 years of age, he led the league in minutes played per game at 37.8, which, as you say,
Dude.
as have been saying, availability is the best ability, and he was that guy for his
Mhm.
team every single night. So 100% in
Yeah.
my eyes deserved a top 3 nod based on his play last year, and it's gonna be so exciting to see
Yeah.
the Kings, the new look Kings.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited. And again, are they gonna make it out of a loaded West? We'll
It's
see.
gonna be tough. It's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
tough.
really tough, but
Mhm.
DeMar to me elevates it. He
100%.
opens that ceiling up. And clutch. The dude,
Yup.
he's won a clutch player of the year award. He is there
Dang,
for the
their
big
clutch shot
moments.
making. They got
Dude,
De'Aaron, they got
you
it's
got 2 of
okay,
them on the
okay. We
same
got
team.
Monk,
Yeah,
college. Don't forget about
just
the college. Those 2 threes
yeah,
against who
oh
was
my
that? What
goodness.
team was that?
Um,
because De'Aaron was on that team. North
Was he?
Carolina. North
Yes.
Carolina, because
Yep.
Drake May, or not
Mhm.
Drake May, Luke,
Luke
is it
May. I
Luke
think
May
it's
hit
Luke
the
May.
game winner. Yep,
Mhm.
there we go.
Yeah.
So
Shout out
they
the
got
May family, Mo.
I swear, they're
It
cooking. They're
they're
cooking.
cooking, and it's
But
about time. It's about
for
time.
sure.
Drake, get anyways, we'll save that for football. But,
They got 3 big shot
yeah.
makers is it was the preface.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, love it. I'm glad we were giving DeMar the respect he deserves.
100%.
Last year he was great, even if the winning portion is kind of missing.
Yeah.
Um, at number 2, I've got a guy who had a change of scenery.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
You
Nope.
agree?
I do. I agree. I agree. I
Okay,
agree.
okay. Oh, no. I thought you were gonna be like, "Oh my god, I left him off." And okay.
No.
Okay. I've got
No.
Paul George of the Clippers,
Yep.
now of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
And listen, man, the Clippers had a tough year, banged up, as was kind of his entire run there,
Mhm.
but he showed up 74 games played,
Yeah.
consistently there, kept them afloat. 22.6 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He was almost top 10 in steals at 11 with
Mhm.
1.5 per game, 41.3% from 3, which is top 45 in the league.
Yep.
Uh, and a great player. I mean, it still blows my mind given the injury that he suffered
Yeah.
that he is still here and still hooping. It
It's
makes me
crazy.
so happy.
For sure. As a
Um,
basketball fan, it's a
yeah,
treat to see him still hooping at the level he is. Um, Speaking about the steals real quick, in 2018, 2019, he led the league at 2.2 a game. Like,
crazy.
just the two-way ability of Paul George that he's
Mhm.
shown throughout his career and that he's going to bring to Philadelphia makes that team,
Dude.
if Embiid can be healthy and if
Mhm.
their role guys can play as well as they have in past years and past playoff series,
Mhm.
Maxey, if he could continue to be that guy,
Yeah,
it it's gonna be a fun year in Philly.
it
So
is, man. It's I'm again, as a Celtics fan, nervous. I think
yep.
I know the whole, like, oh, the Celtics own the Sixers, all that stuff. This is a really good Sixers team,
Yeah.
and Paul George, and like you said, his two-way ability, man, that's going to be really great to watch.
Oh, him versus Jalen Brown,
Him versus Jalen Brown, you say?
because I guess he's the greatest small forward in NBA basketball at the
Today.
moment. At the
Um,
moment.
at the moment, and we're both I almost said Sixers. We're both Celtics fans.
Yep.
Um, but this is off of last year.
Yep.
It's off of last year. NBA champion, Finals MVP, snubbed for All NBA, but damn, did he show that he deserved to be there.
Mhm.
We got Jalen Brown at the number 1 spot, which is pretty crazy. When filling this list out, I was like, wait, is JB 1? And I
Yeah,
think he's 1 based off last year.
for sure.
Um, for his stats, 23 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 1.2 steals. Talk about two-way ability. Jalen
Mhm.
Brown has that great athleticism, 35% from deep. And
Yep.
like we talked about, playoff riser was the best player for the Boston Celtics in winning a title in that
Mhm.
NBA Finals. And I think, honestly, you could say for the entire playoffs, he was the best
100%.
Celtic.
100%.
Um, great player. I think he's going to be vying for this top spot again, especially with the chip he's got on his shoulder going
Mhm.
into this season, this upcoming season. And I've got our guy JB at number 1.
I couldn't agree more. As you said, Finals MVP, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, just doing it all for the Celtics throughout the entire season, and
Mhm.
adding that on top of the defense that he brings night in and night out, shutting down opposing teams' best player, 2, 3, even able to handle posting up against bigger defenders because of his
Yeah.
strength, because of his athleticism. Jaylen Brown has blossomed into he'd be a number 1 on a lot of teams,
Mhm.
but he's just in such a great system with another amazing player by his side and
Mhm.
amazing, uh, pieces alongside of that, but Jaylen Brown, in my eyes, based off of what he did last year, has to be 1 on this list.
Yeah, and you can call us Celtics fanboys, you can whatever you want, but I think the reality is, like you said, Eastern Conference Finals MVP, NBA Finals MVP, All-Star, two-way ability, almost 23 point per game scorer, playoff riser.
Yep, increased all his stats in the playoffs, shot better from the field, a little bit worse from 3, but all in that ballpark, just becoming a better player when the lights are the brightest, hitting massive shots in massive moments.
Mhm.
Jaylen Brown was that last season.
I I totally agree. So that's our top 10 small forwards for last year. Let us know anybody who, we didn't include. Tell us if
Mhm.
you'd move some guys around, if there's a guy that's a little higher for me that you disagree with, if there's a guy that's a little lower for Mo that you disagree with, whatever it is, leave it in the comments. We would love it to read them and see what all of you think. Um, with that being said, Mo, song of the pod.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. What do you got?
I have a new song off of the
Mm,
new Tommy Richmond Coyote album, which Zay and I listen to in listening party
mhm,
style. Whitney, track 2 on that album, was my favorite song, I believe, on the
mhm.
album. I'll have to go back through again, but based off my first listen, this is the one that jumped out to me. Amazing beat, just kind of a, we know it, Tommy Richmond, it's that nice vibe, kind of that upbeat, get your body moving type vibe,
Mhm.
and this song is exactly that. If you haven't listened to it, I'd
Yeah,
definitely check it out.
great song. Listened to it together, and it was one where we were like, "Wow, this is a really quality song.
Yeah.
Like, this is really good."
Mhm.
Um, so love the pick there. I've got "Dope Boy" by Young
Yeah.
Thug with Nigo. The only complaint I have is that it's not longer. It's
Yep,
a
I
minute and a
agree.
half, and I
Yep.
wish it was 2.5. That would have
Mhm.
been totally fine, but, you work with what you got.
Yep.
This out of context sounds a little odd, but it's a great song.
Yep.
It's a great song.
Great
That's
song.
what's important. So I guess go ahead and check it out, Free Thug.
Yep.
Um, that's it. We'll see you
That's
guys
all.
for the Power Forward vid, MLB
Yep.
baseball. By the time you're seeing this is rolling.
Yep.
Go Mariners, man. Um,
I can't even bring myself to say it, so
yeah. So yeah, good luck to those
that they're
fans who have to.
participating. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gotta be a fun experience to be a part
Yeah.
of playoff baseball. Um,
After 162 games, yeah, but
we'll be back with Power Forward vid, and that one
yeah.
is going to be a banger.
Yep.
Like, I
It's
have been
stacked.
yeah,
It's loaded.
since the
There's
point
gonna be
guard
crazy omissions. Yeah. Yep.
I've been like, "Dude, how" it's like 10 All-Stars. Legitimately 10 All-Stars on there. Like, no disrespect at all to Jaden McDaniels or Michael Porter or Chris Middleton. They wouldn't sniff that the power forward one. They just
Yeah.
wouldn't. It's
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah.
Um, so we're excited to get that to you, and then the
Mhm.
centers one. Preseason basketball coming up. It's a great time to be a sports fan right now.
100%.
But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Love you all.
Love y'all.
Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Later, everyone.